It's 2021 and I'm here with a video. I said I was going to do it and I'm doing it. But this is going to be a different type of video. This video is going to be about me. I'm not eating. I'm not going to drink anything. I'm just going to talk to you guys about how good God is and how good He has been to me. Some years ago, I woke up and I had a headache in the back of my neck. I finally decided to go to the hospital to see about it, but it took me 3 days because I didn't like to take medicine. At the time, I was engaged, and my fiance kept asking me, "You want to take Motrin? Do you want to take this?" I didn't want to take anything. All I wanted to do was sleep, and the only way I can get really good sleep was by being on all fours. All fours allowed the pressure from my head to relieve me. So the first day, it was a headache. The second day, it was a headache and I started stumbling. I started stumbling to where I was losing my eyesight. I was losing my hearing, and I was losing my ability to walk. Finally, I called a friend of mine and I asked her, I said, "Listen, if I wake up in the morning with this headache, can you drop me off at the hospital?" She said, "Sure." Sure enough, that morning I got up, had a headache. She took me to the hospital, and the doctor says, "What brings you here?" I said, "Oh, I got this headache in the back of my head, and it's killing me." He said, "Okay." He sent me in for a CAT scan. He came back, and he said, "You have to be admitted into the hospital." I said, "Why? What's the matter?" He said, "You're hemorrhaging." I said, "Hemorrhaging? Hemorrhaging from what?" He said, "The brain, and you need to have brain surgery." I cried and I cried and I cried. Sure enough, I was admitted. I was thinking because my girlfriend braided my hair too tight. And I kept on saying, "Girl, you braided my hair too tight." Sure enough, we got the braids out. It was not the braids. I had to take the braids out on the gurney before I went in to have my surgery. So I'm cutting the braids out of my hair, taking them out. And I remember saying to the doctor, I said, "Listen, I know you're not going to do a good job. So whatever you do, do not leave no hair on my head." The doctor just looked at me and smiled. And he said, "By the way, why are you shaking like that? Are you cold?" I said, "No, I'm scared." Yes, I was scared. Fear had set in. And everybody in their mind was saying, "Don't worry, you're going to be just fine. Don't you believe in God?" And yes, I did. Leave it in the Lord's hands. And at that time, I had my son, which was 7, and my daughter was 2. They take me in, they do a CAT scan. They do an MRI. The MRI says that I was hemorrhaging and it stopped and it clotted. Yes. Before they even did the surgery, I was in intensive care for 3 days. And them 3 days that I was in intensive care, I promise you, I saw so many people that passed away. And every time I saw one, I would jump and be like, "What are you doing here?" But they never came into my room. They turned off. About 4 people passed away and came by my room, never in my room. And they turned. And it tripped me out. So after the 3 days, they finally did the brain surgery. And when I was in intensive care recovering, I kept on hearing drilling sawing. And I kept on saying to my nurse at the time, I said, I keep hearing this drilling in my ear. She said, you know, I'm not supposed to tell you this. She said, but they used a little chainsaw to get through to your brain. And I said, really? She said, yes. The next day, if I'm not mistaken, I had to start my physical therapy because I couldn't talk right, I couldn't walk right, and I was losing my eyesight. Long story short, they did some physical therapy on me. God is so good. I stayed in the hospital all of 6 days. 3 days for them to make sure I didn't have seizures and things of that nature. And then they did the surgery, and 3 days to recover. When I left with staples from ear to ear. Let me tell you, when I say God is good, I am a living testimony that God is good. God is good. He took me to it and brought me through it. So anybody that's out there experiencing different things, ailments and stuff like that, look at me. Look, I am a walking testimony of what God can do. I will never, and I mean never, take my hands from out of God's hands, because I know He has my back 1,000%. I hear stories over and over again on how people went through the same things that I went through and they didn't make it. And I thank God, and I pray for those that lost their lives, but I thank God that He saw fit to spare my life and allowed me a chance to tell my story to you all. This is why I am so happy-go-lucky, because I've been through so much. There's no reason for me to be down and pouting and moping and beefing and going through all those different changes, because let me tell you one thing. When God does what He did for me, for you, you have nothing but excitement. I have nothing but love for everybody. I want to have fun. I'm going to have fun. If you have negative vibes, keep it over there, because I'm not the one. I'm good people, and I'm going to stay like that. I'm not going to let anybody drain my energy over negativity. I'm doing this because I want to do this. I want to have fun. I want to help somebody. I want to speak to people. I want to get to know different people and their walks of life. So if you're looking at me and I'm just so happy and going through what I'm going through, it's because God is so good, has been so good, and will always be so good, because that's who He is. He can and He will. He's able, and I mean He's able to do anything but fail. He took me to it and brought me through it. He took me